The world woke up to a piece of news that once seemed impossible. Israel and Hamas have signed a peace agreement. After decades of hatred, wars, and attacks, the most irreconcilable enemies in the Middle East shook hands before the eyes of the world. Cameras captured the moment when the flags of Israel and Palestine were raised side by side, as if the weight of history had paused for an instant. But behind the applause, the diplomatic smiles, and the solemn speeches, a disturbing question began to take shape. At what price was this peace achieved? This is not an ordinary agreement. According to sources close to the negotiation, the treaty could reshape the geopolitical map of the region and alter the alliances that have maintained the balance of power in the Middle East for more than half a century. From Washington to Tehran, from Cairo to Moscow, foreign ministries are working against the clock to decipher what this historic pact really means. The signing took place in Doha under Qatari mediation, and with the silent but strategic presence of representatives from the United States and Saudi Arabia. Officially, the agreement includes a permanent ceasefire, the release of prisoners, and the launch of a joint economic plan to rebuild Gaza. But what has not been said may be even more important. Leaked documents reveal that the pact includes secret clauses related to the control of natural resources, maritime access to the Mediterranean, and the reconfiguration of international support for political factions within Palestine. In other words, peace may come at a price far higher than the lives lost in the conflict. In Jerusalem, the reaction was as immediate as it was contradictory. Thousands of Israelis took to the streets to celebrate what they called the end of an era, while far-right groups condemned the agreement as an act of surrender. In Tel Aviv, the mood was uncertain. "We don't know if this is the beginning of peace or the start of something worse," said an Israeli army veteran on camera. In Gaza, however, the announcement was met with tears. Entire families embraced among the ruins, as if unable to believe that the bombings had finally stopped. Yet some Hamas leaders remain skeptical, warning that peace cannot be built if justice remains a hostage. To understand the magnitude of this moment, one must look back. Since the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, the conflict with the Palestinian people has been an open wound marking modern history. Wars, intifadas, terrorist attacks, occupations, and failed mediations have left millions of direct and indirect victims. And though there were previous attempts at peace, like the Oslo Accords or the Arab Peace Initiative, none achieved what seems to have been reached today. But this agreement did not emerge out of nowhere. Behind it are months of secret negotiations, meetings in neutral countries, and unprecedented international pressure. According to diplomatic sources, the true driving force came from a common interest: fear. Israel fears Iran's growing nuclear ambitions, while Hamas fears complete isolation in a Middle East that has radically changed since the war in Gaza. The word peace in this context is not romantic, it's strategic. In Washington, the announcement was met with caution. The U.S. administration called it a step toward regional stability, but behind that diplomatic phrase lies a political calculation. The United States knows that if this agreement succeeds, it could lose part of its traditional influence in the region. Saudi Arabia and Qatar, meanwhile, seek to position themselves as new arbiters of power, while Turkey quietly tries to regain influence by supporting Palestinian efforts. In Tehran, the silence was deafening. Iran, Hamas's main ally for years, was not part of the negotiations and now fears being sidelined from a new regional order. Analysts suggest this may be the first peace deal in the Middle East where Tehran has neither a voice nor a vote, creating internal tension among its political factions. But the real question is what this means for the people. In Gaza, where daily life has been synonymous with destruction, the announcement stirs both hope and fear. "We want to believe, but they've lied to us before," said a young mother who lost her son in the 2023 attacks. On the streets of Ramallah, people speak of a new era, but many fear that reconstruction will be dictated by foreign interests. The economic agreements accompanying the peace include multi-billion-dollar investments from international corporations already preparing to exploit natural gas fields off the Gaza coast. That could be the real currency of this deal. Some experts warn that peace could become a business. What began as an act of reconciliation could turn into a race for resource control, with global powers like China and the United States competing to participate in the reconstruction. And while the world celebrates, intelligence services in several nations are already analyzing what this pact could trigger. Every time the balance shifts in the Middle East, the whole world feels the aftershock, warned an analyst from the International Institute for Strategic Studies. History has shown that no peace in this region is ever final. What seems like an ending today could be the beginning of a new geopolitical chessboard. What makes this agreement so unsettling is not only its content, but its timing. It comes at a moment when the world faces one of the greatest energy and diplomatic realignments of the 21st century. Europe is striving to end its dependence on Gulf oil, China is strengthening its influence in Iran, and the United States is trying to reclaim its presence in a region it no longer fully controls. In the midst of it all, Israel and Hamas, two historical enemies, decide to sign peace, out of conviction or convenience. Some claim that behind the agreement lies a deeper strategy aimed at containing Iran's expansion and laying the groundwork for future regional economic integration. Others believe it's the desperate move of two exhausted adversaries, pressured by an international community that can no longer tolerate more bloodshed. What's certain is that the world watches with a mix of hope and suspicion. The images of the leaders shaking hands play on repeat across screens, but behind that scene, something larger is unfolding, something that could define the future of the Middle East for decades to come. Because as a European diplomat warned after leaving the conference hall in Doha, there is no such thing as free peace, and this one will be the most expensive of all.